All right, party people. I spoke too soon when I created that post today, and I said that we go live every day at 12 noon unless there are technical challenges that I can't overcome. Guess what happened today? No worries. We're a little bit late, but that's okay. We're all at home. So it's all good. Today's guest is going to be Erik Chazin. He is Partnerships Account Manager for Instawork. Instawork is a company that provides staffing solutions nationwide. But why should I tell you about it? Let's go ahead and get Erik to tell you all about it. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Trish? Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here.
I'm super excited that you could hear me and I can hear you.
Yeah, we got it all worked out. It's all good. So,
That's okay. It's all right. A little, a little behind the eight ball, but that's, better to be chasing it than in front of it, I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it kind of fits with the theme of everything slowing down, in the event industry, as you and I are finding right now. So, working from home and kind of going with the flow, right?
You said it. You said it. I mean, it does fit the theme, right? Like I feel like the show, this whole show has become just like a little bit bougie, a little bit ratchet, but a whole lot of fun. And that sums me up to a T. I don't know what to
Oh,
say about that.
that's great. Love that.
Oh my God. So Erik, why don't you tell everybody like, who you are, who Instawork is, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, like Trish said, my name is Erik Chazin, and I'm a partnerships manager, account executive for InStore. I actually live in Phoenix, but InStore is a national brand, and we are very prevalent in the DC market. That's where I met Trish back last fall. And InStore is a staffing platform, and we're helping businesses to provide staff for their events and for their industry, things like that. So we're helping in any way that we can. Especially right now, it's been a little bit of a challenging situation because the event industry is at a complete standstill. So I'm sure we'll talk about that later in the show here today. But just excited to be here and kind of talk about what's happening and how we might be able to help all of you and all of your businesses moving here forward.
Well, I mean, that's what was really fascinating about having you on today, and why I really kind of thought about that. I'm just like, wow, some of us are taught, some of us have really only like one hand in what's happening today, right? Like we're a provider, and now we have lost the ability to provide for things. So I'm a planner. I have, all my clients have rescheduled. Great, but that means that I'm kind of like sitting on my time until everything starts to turn up again. But I'm not. But what's fascinating to me about Instawork is like you were servicing by providing staffing, right? So nobody can go out and staff. Nobody can be out there physically, but you were providing it to an industry that is also shut down. So not only can you not provide the service, it's even if you could provide the service, you wouldn't have the industry to provide it to. So how is that? Obviously, this is live, so you don't have to tell us like all of the internal conversations, deep dive. But how is Instawork handling it? Like, what has their response been?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Well, first of all, I kind of want to start, Trish, with our mission at InStore is to provide global economic opportunity. And so our goal is to get people work and people who are searching for to create their own schedules, be able to fit what works for them and their families, right? There are
Right.
a lot of our professionals are using InStore as a second form of income, about 60 or 65% of them. And what that means is that they're going to want to pick up jobs and pick up shifts when they can and really work hard to kind of stay on the platform and keep working for us. Of course, we've seen the downshift of events happening for hospitality. There's almost no events happening. So we've been able to pivot and help partners in different ways and get new partners in different industries and different verticals. So we're excited to be able to help like the food delivery industry, right? Delivery drivers, like packing and warehouses, warehouse stocking, general labor, and then also kind of helping in the healthcare industry. We've been able to partner with some hospitals and businesses nationwide to help with kind of the non-medical, like non-clinical side of healthcare hospitality. So still hospitality, but like different types of verticals. And so we're definitely excited to pick back up with the event industry when it gets back on track. But for now, we're just trying to help wherever we can and trying to help stop COVID-19 and provide sanitation efforts and things like that.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's really, really fascinating to me, right? Like that you've all been able to, to pivot very quickly.
Mhm.
And do you credit that to having a business model that allows for that? Or is it is it the management that has really led that? Or maybe a combination of both? Like, that's great that you all have been able to be so responsive.
Yeah, thank you. And that's a good question
Yeah.
too. I think it's two things. One is the flexibility of our business model. We are an on-demand staffing flexible platform, right? And the goal is to be able to be flexible with the industry, be flexible with the economy. The gig economy still exists right now. It's just in a different format. And so that's why we think that our business is sustainable and it will continue to thrive. And I think second, yeah, it definitely is the leadership. Our team has done an incredible job. Our operations team, our sales team, our partnerships team, product and marketing as well. We've all kind of come together and being able to identify the areas of opportunity we want to attack. We've all been collaborating to find new partners and to find new opportunity streams. And so it's not just sales, it's not just operations. Everyone's collaborating together, and I'm really thankful to be on a strong team that I'm on and be able to help the company grow in the little bit that I can.
Well, what struck me, I mean, the last time you and I saw each other was at Cater Source, the special event out in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
And I kind of reflecting on back on that now, it really did kind of feel like the last meal, right? Like
it totally was the Last Supper. Yeah.
it was a little bit crazy. But what kind of struck me about that is your great enthusiasm for Instawork. So I knew, it's got to be a pretty solid company, right? Like if you have somebody who's, can maintain a sense of enthusiasm for the brand, then it has to be, pretty much on the up and up. But talk to me a little bit about the whole, what this kind of looks like in the next 3 to 4 months, because my personal prediction, and I've said this since Las Vegas, was that yes, all of my clients may reschedule and all of my business might be pushed forward, but then that means that in a year where I normally uh, you know schedule myself accordingly so that I'm not driving myself nuts, so that I'm giving my clients 100% of myself, my attention and my time, and then I'm not running back to back to back events,
Mhm.
because I'm not personally a fan of that. It means that this year it's going to be back to back events. It's going to, all my events are going to be pushed together. It's just going to be an insane run the minute we hit the ground running.
Mhm.
And I'm predicting a very big rush on labor. That's going to be an issue for me personally. That's going to be an issue for me. So how is Instaworks onboarding process like how do you get people to work for Instawork? Is it through your marketing? Do you have, if somebody's interested in signing up with Instawork, if you're watching right now and you want to get in on this massive labor rush that is going to happen, like how does someone go, get to Instawork, aside from just logging onto your website, and what's the process of the onboarding like for them?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you said a couple of great things there that
Yeah.
I'd like to agree on and touch on too, because I think you're right. The prediction of is what's going to happen when everything goes back to normal. Who knows if it will go like completely back to normal. But I think that after August, probably in the fall, like September through December, and after that, it's going to be absolutely insane. And even in DC area, things are crazy in the fall. It's going to be back to back to back to back to back. It's not going to stop, I don't think. And I think that's exciting. Maybe the ramp up period will be a little bit slower than we're thinking, but I think it will go back to a lot of events. And so that puts us in a good position because we want to be able to give these people work. People who are unemployed, unemployment is incredibly high right now. We want to help these people to get jobs and get back on track and whatever they need to help make additional income. So we want to help there, spread economic opportunity on a global level. We want people to understand what we do, and we're here to help and help the economy and help that thrive. So I do think that temp labor is going to be huge when things get back on track, because when the events are going to come in, I think businesses are going to be struggling to hire people fast enough. And so Instawork offers that opportunity to be able to do it flexibly and be able to do it quickly and efficiently just by, through an app or a platform. So people who are watching right now or who will watch this later, if you're interested in working on the platform, if you're in the DC area, no matter what area you're in, we're in 22 markets right now. So we would love for you to sign up on our platform. You can go to the app or the website, instawork.com, and it will walk you through how to go from there. And what you asked, Trish, about the onboarding process is it's very easy and straightforward. You would just create your free profile on Instawork, give your background, your experiences, kind of fill out like your mini resume, attach your experiences, things like that. And then the partners who are looking for professionals for the shifts, they'll just go through and review your profile before each shift and decide if you'd be a good fit, if they want to add you to the roster. And then it's a first come, first served basis. So you see 50 shifts on the platform and you can pick them up, kind of like you're picking up a Lyft ride or an Uber ride as you're a driver. So same type of format, and it's really easy to get. If you have the experience, it's easy to get accepted to the platform, and then you'll probably have an in-person or a Zoom or virtual interview to get accepted to the platform before that too. So
well, and that's the part that really fascinated me about the Instawork platform, because I'm very familiar with another very similar program in the marketplace. I won't give them the shout out. I don't know what the legal ramifications are, but we'll just say that they're a more broad based, right? They're a broader based handyman sort of platform where you need some shelves put up. You can put yourself on, as a person who can provide that service, you can put it on there. You can go online and you could look for somebody to provide that sort of labor service. So it's a very broad-based general labor platform, but there always was a component for event planners and event professionals. So there was that hospitality component. It just, there weren't enough people in the hospitality industry using it to provide great jobs in that arena. There weren't enough people providing that sort of quality labor. So this is where I've been fascinated by Instawork. Not to mention that their onboarding process involved like a series of videos that you would take and a background check. But there was nothing in person. There was never an in-person component. So I like the fact that there's someone at some point in time, people that you bring on through Instawork get that sort of personal touch, and that's what it kind of feels to me. It's like Instawork is just a little bit more of that personal touch, that you can at least be sure that the person you're hiring went through someone in that company and not just through an online sort of automated process 100%.
I think that's great, because our partners want to feel like they're white gloved, and in hospitality you have to, and we want to. I like meeting people in person more than I like meeting them virtually, because we build rapport, we get to meet them, and we get to understand their operations and their business. And I love going to DC and meeting partners in person there, because we're able to kind of understand what their business does, and like we won't get that through the phone or through Zoom or through a webcam. So we do appreciate that, and I think it's correct that we are high tech and also high touch, and that's what we like to say, because we want people to have an elite experience with Instawork and understand that they're going to get this experience for every gig or shift that they post to our platform. It's not just a one-time thing. So the professionals get that, and they like that. They like the contact with our operations, and then our partners like the contact with our sales and operations departments too. So, yeah.
Nice. I really did enjoy that component. But we'll do a little bit of a shift now. We've given Instawork a little, the shout out, but you work remotely for Instawork. So this is not a new thing. Like working remotely and having to, be out there in a mobile working environment is certainly something that you're very much accustomed to. So how has that been now that everyone is like that? Has that changed the way that you work at all, or is it just status quo for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I've been kind of half remote for the last year since I started with Instawork, and we do have a Phoenix office here. So I do have an office, and my manager and team sits here in Phoenix, but now it is way more remote. I've been at home since I saw you in Vegas for the last 5.5 weeks. So it's been a long time. I think it's funny because I've kind of thought that I wanted to be a remote employee, but I love the office environment. I love thriving with people there, and I'm a people person. So it's been tough to have all the conversations remote. And a lot of partners in hospitality aren't open to talking right now because they don't have events. There's nothing for them to talk about for progressing a potential partnership. But I think for me, the biggest adjustment has been like doing everything from my kitchen table where I'm sitting right now, and my couch or wherever that is. But I like moving around and moving around the market and going to coffee shops and like going to businesses, and I feel like I'm active and literally getting being active, like walking around cities and things like that. So it's different to stay at home, but it's just the nature of the beast right now, and I just think we have to accept it. And it might be this way for 1 or 2, 3 more months, and then we will get back on track. And so it's staying positive and also like igniting these relationships, and just keeping in touch with people and seeing how we can help. My job has transformed so much from, hey, do you want to use Instawork? Like, here's what we're doing. We'd love to work with you, to how are you doing right now? And tell me about your business. Like, what challenges are you facing? How can we help? How can we connect you with referrals that we know in our internal network? How can NACE help too? I sit on the NACE board here in Phoenix, and NACE has been doing a lot for some businesses here. I'm sure you'll talk about that for the DC area, but just trying to help however we can and being people.
Yeah. Have you guys had, I mean, talking about NACE a little bit, some of the viewers might not be familiar with NACE. NACE is the National Association for Catering and Events. And both Erik and I are very active in our respective cities, as well as nationally. So, we've met through national connections, and, and when we each have that, sort of commonality, within our local chapters. We had our first virtual board meeting this week. And it was a little disheartening for me personally, because I felt like we had such great energy coming onto the board this year. We had a lot of new members. I really loved the diversity of the people and the age ranges and the career paths and the years in the industry, and the different segments that we had represented. So I felt that it was a very robust board this year. Which, and so on Tuesday, it just was very apparent that we all felt a little deflated. And I think that was what was most heartbreaking about it. But have you all met as a Phoenix board, and like, how's it for you all?
Yeah, good question too. So we actually have our board meeting, our April board meeting today, this afternoon. So looking forward to that. But we've been in touch virtually and through email, our email thread, and everyone's just been super supportive. And of course, a lot of people are working from home and they're just doing different things. But we have had 2 virtual, we call them cocktail and connections happy hours. Okay. So we have our NACE board and NACE members and people who aren't members, who are prospective members too, here in Phoenix. They're joining on Zoom, and we're just having like a virtual hangout, a happy hour. We've done 2 of those so far. One was on the 7th and one was on the 14th, 2 days ago. And then we have our NACE meeting for our April meeting for all of our members on the 21st. So we have a speaker who's coming, and she'll be speaking through Zoom. So we've had 3 events, or 3 different connections this month, and 1 board meeting. So everything is staying together, and we're just adjusting and doing things virtually. So it's great.
Good. And are you a member of like external groups as well? I mean, so obviously you have NACE, which is an internal association. I call anything that's sort of like based on the event industry an internal association. But, like, have you been out there to like Chamber of Commerce, or like your, local, whatever Phoenix has going on in terms of associations and networking groups? Or had you been focused primarily internally?
Primarily internally, just with Instawork and NACE, there's been a lot going on. I'm a part of a running club, and that's, my running team's external, not work related. But besides that, nothing else for the Phoenix area right now, and it seems like everything's pretty much shut down. So, nope, just kind of
just kind of focused. You're super focused on going, going forward. So are you finding yourself with like a lot of extra time on your hands now, or no? I mean, really, like between no, talk to me about it. Are you having a lot of extra time? Or?
Yeah. I think it's kind of a mix. For me, I try to get out and run every morning, and I'm a big runner. So spending like an hour a day on running is like, it kind of helps the time go by, because what else would I be doing when I'm not working, right? So like getting active. My fiance and I, we walk around a lot and do walks and runs and bike rides together. So the weather here in Arizona is still pretty nice, and it's about to get hotter. So just trying to take advantage of that while I can. And then doing a lot of cooking, right? And making some good meals. And then I am working hard too. I think for me, it's like usually 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day with maybe a 30-minute lunch break. So I hate having a ton of screen time, and I'm not used to that, but I think it's needed right now, and just kind of grinding at work and trying to help partners the most that we can.
Yeah, well, and as you've been reaching out, what has been sort of like, what lessons have you learned from, because obviously, I've been reaching out to people, but my focus has been primarily the DC market. I would say like 80% of the people, that I'm reaching out to are in DC, with another 20, nationally. But yours, I would expect, are far broader in terms of connections. So are there reoccurring themes? Are there reoccurring lessons that you're learning?
Yeah. One is people are busy and things change in a heartbeat, even if they're outside of the typical hospitality vertical. And if they're, in healthcare or cleaning or things like that, they get busy within a second. And that's why we exist. We exist to help people for those on-demand situations. And so it's just following up and making sure people know that, we're relevant and we are here for them to help. And then by no means it's forcing people into using us, because that's not the goal. It's just trying to help when we can. And then, social events too, like the NACE context we have has been super helpful. It's also fun. It takes the time out of just, calling people at work and reaching out to partners, account management, and just trying to let people know that we're here for them. And then, I try to talk to friends and family every day too. I like doing a FaceTime call with my parents or with my friends or family. And I just kind of make that a part of my day too. So yeah, sorry to get sidetracked on that question, but kind of finding that people are busy, they get busy quickly. And then they also just want to talk because they want to talk to people because they miss people. And so some of the people are open to having longer conversations and just kind of talking about their businesses. Yesterday I called a guy who owns 4 concepts, and they're contracted with a commercial kitchen here in Phoenix. And he was just telling me about his businesses and how excited he is to launch 2 more new businesses once everything is kind of back to normal here. So we just chatted about that for a while yesterday, and that was a great part of my day. So just kind of going with the flow and seeing where things take me every day.
Yeah, and I'm hearing that a lot, where, as people are kind of, we're so well structured going into this, and now to lose that sense of structure, people have to sort of redefine, what happens in the course of the day. I don't think that I don't think people are really so accustomed to flying by the seat of their pants.
Yeah, I know.
To have, I think that's personally one of the things that have really struck me over the last few weeks, is the sheer number of people who live their lives by a schedule. I mean, I guess I kind of knew that, of course, from on a very surface level, but I just never really devoted any time thinking, about that in great depth. So seeing people that have been unraveled that, by not having a schedule, by, having to be spontaneous.
Right.
I know that's really difficult for a lot of people to deal with.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like, Instawork, the company, it's all about people being spontaneous in effect, right?
Definitely.
Like, it's spontaneous need.
Well, speaking of spontaneity, Trish, let's bring it back to you. I have a question for you, if that's all right.
Go for it. Do it.
So Trish.0, amazing idea, so cool. This seems like something that's relatively new for you, and I got the pleasure of hearing you present at Cater Source in the special event in Vegas, and it was a great presentation. I didn't realize that you were into all these other mediums of the event industry. So talk to me about, like, what are you doing right now to try to shift your business or improve and kind of change your scope of your future career, and like, what are some things that you're doing with Trish Star events and in your personal life?
Yeah, for me, this has been a very, it was a good break. It was not the way that I wanted it, but certainly the way, but I'll certainly take it now that it's offered to me. And it's allowed me to go back to a lot of, concepts and ideas that I just didn't have the time to do before. I'm always, I'm the first person to admit I'm always the idea girl. I always have fantastic ideas. Yeah, talk to me about ideas all day, all night. I have laundry lists of them, pages, books, even novels, of ideas. But of course, not the time or the money, or the time and the money to work on them.
Sure.
And sometimes even when you have the time and the money, you just don't have the mental fuel to sit back and work on these things. Sometimes you just do want to just sit back on a couch and watch an hour's worth of junk TV because you're just so exhausted.
Right.
You don't want to do anything else. So for me, it was like, oh, wow, I now have all of the things in my basket. I can now do all the things that I've been talking about doing.
Yeah.
So one of the things was this show. I've been talking about putting together a podcast for, the over a year, well over a year. And I had it sort of, like every time I could devote a little bit of time to it, I had it worked out in its components. Like I attended several courses on how to put together a podcast. That actually led to booking a client who is now becoming a repeat client, and we put on a Podfest every year. So we had one this November. That was my first time with them. Shout out to Jen Crawford. Hey. But we're going to hopefully have, crossing the fingers, have another one coming up in November. But I said, you know what, so as we were kind of working through it, and as I was working through that event and formulating what I wanted to put out there in terms of content, I started assembling the contents slowly but surely. And a lot of that is like, you have to record, and sometimes you re-record and you edit, and then you edit again. And I was thinking like, okay, well, I had put a few things out in February, just kind of in advance of Cater Source's special event, in advance of that, because that was the plan, is I was going to put out a little bit of content before the show. I was going to present on a national stage. Then I was going to come back and I was going to push out all this fabulous content. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, boop, all this content is now tone deaf.
Yeah.
Right. Everything I had recorded is now just not something that, should be released right now. So, it's still in the archives. I'm still going to release it at a certain point in time. Okay. But I'm like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What do people need? And as I was looking at, this was really born because of looking at what the industry was doing. And we're doing a lot of panel discussions. We're pushing out a lot of content on generalized topics. We're forming groups and happy hours and coalitions and all these things, generally speaking, and we're talking in very broad-based terms. But I'm like, I need to know what I'm going to do for my business. I need to learn some personal lessons. And I don't know that I'm going to necessarily learn a whole lot of personal lessons by Zoom, tuning into any of these resources. And I'm like, I think a lot of people are like that there are the Instaworks of the world that want, just 20 minutes of private time where they could talk about what they're doing. We can go back and forth. And then people who are watching, who are either involved in the events industry or not, can get a sense of what's happening with us and what's happening on a national stage. Because that was the other part of it, is that, so many people are so finely focused on their own geographical areas that they're not necessarily in tune with what might be happening in Phoenix or San Francisco or Chicago or whatever. So it was bringing those two things together. I wanted to create something that was very personalized. So there was that, and as everybody's been following my technical journey, at a certain point in time, I'm going to become like the go-to expert, right? It's just going to take a while.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time, matter of, starting and restarting your computer, something ridiculous. But other than that, I have also I signed up for the FAU, Florida Atlantic University. They're offering a free certification course for hospitality.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It's normally a course that runs a couple $1,000s, but they, as their sort of like help for the industry, are offering it for free. I will, I'll insert a link, at some point, either into, I'll probably insert into the show description so that people can.
Cool.
Yeah. And keep in mind, so many people have signed up for this that they have had to stagger the entrance, and there is a wait list. So, but get on the wait list because it's free, and it's something you would have normally had to pay, piles of money for. Not to mention that I've decided I'm also going to sit for my CMP and CPC certifications.
Nice.
I've just been putting it off for a very long
Good.
time.
Congrats.
I finally have it. I'm like, might as well.
Yep.
And that's me. You know, I when all else fails, I fall back on education. I'm like that. That's just something that will never leave you. Learning a new skill will never leave you.
Totally. I think that's all.
Yeah,
Well,
even if it's how to, peel a carrot, that will never leave you.
there you go. Well, props to you. I think it's so awesome that you're continuing education and trying to learn every day and hosting podcasts and speaking at events. I think that's awesome. And what a way to give back to the community. So I think it's great. And thank you for everything that you've been doing.
Oh, well, no, thank you. Thank you. To me, this is just, everybody getting together and getting through it. So speaking of getting together, how was your Seder? Did you have a virtual Seder? Like, how did you all manage that this year?
Oh,
yeah. Happy Pesach, by the way. So
thank you so much, and happy Easter to you. I'm not sure if you celebrate, but
no, thank you. It's actually coming up. A lot of people don't know that because I'm Greek, and
Easter, right?
Greek Easter falls at a later time, or a different time than the Catholic one. But thank you. It's this weekend.
So. This weekend, right? Yes, I went to Greek Easter last year, and my friend's house. So
fabulous. Okay, all right.
Yeah, so I'm familiar. And we did have a Seder, virtual Seder on Zoom for one night, so it was lovely. And I ate my gluten free matza. And I need to get more, but I love gluten-free matza. It's great.
What is the gluten-free matza?
It's just a different version of matza that's gluten-free, and it's way better. And it's actually more of like a cracker, and it feels like it's more solid and not as dry. I don't know.
It's a better tasting matza. I wonder why the people just all eat gluten-free. Have to seek this out.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. But like, did you have any technical challenges with the older generations? Do you have are you connected to a lot of older generations, and are there people who were technically challenged?
Yeah. So my parents are so technically not challenged. They're like in such a great form. So my dad's worked for tech companies for like 30 years. And so they have gotten both of their parents, or all of their parents, like all my grandparents, iPhones, iPads, Apple Watches, and they can do FaceTime now. It's so crazy. I never thought I'd grow up. And as my grandparents were getting older, they'd be better with technology. So I think it's cool.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. You have to be then probably one of the only families I know that are all up and like technically on board.
So
my goodness,
my grandparents a lot, which is awesome.
That's so funny. That's so funny. I would I would just kind of wish that some people had recorded their Seders. I'm fascinated by how that, because it is such a dinner about gathering and about being there with your family. Greek Easter is going to be an interesting that's going to be interesting in and of itself, but anything kind of coming up, any of these sort of like larger gatherings, and I've said this to clients before, where I think that the next big test for this industry is going to be high holidays. As sort of like a large scale perspective, like I think people were talking about like, oh, when do we get to make decisions as to how many people can gather and how we're going to gather and how that's going to happen. And that was my answer, is I said, look to the high holidays. That's happening in September. That's going to be the next major test of how people gather.
It'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But this, I've had a whole lot of fun chatting with you today. I thought, it's great to learn about Instawork. And great to learn about like how you're passing the time and all the lessons that you've been learning from different people. So here's my closing thought. My closing. Are you still there? Are you frozen? I am.
Can you see me?
I can see you. Yeah, you were just kind of like floating in and out. Okay, no problem. I think that our connection's kind of. I think it's cooperated with me just long enough. So final thought, once everything breaks and you can get out there and do whatever you want, where are you eating and what are you eating?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I'm I think I'm gonna go to like cold beers and cheeseburgers and just get a fat burger and truffle fries and a huge beer and just like watch a sports game at a bar. I mean, I'm not a big fan of it. I don't do that much, but I just miss going out and doing that. Maybe fake brewery or something on the street. Get some unhealthy food and just relax.
Just something totally junky.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, for you know what, I'm between Mexican and sushi,
Oh.
because neither are something that I can replicate at home very well.
Right.
So it's going to be something fantastically complicated, you know, but and very flavorful.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be that. But all right, Erik, I think that the pixelating screen is our cue to wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for putting up with what we had to go through to get onto this call. I appreciate you so much. And again, if anybody wants to reach out to Erik directly or to Instawork, you've been seeing that scrolling down on the ticker right below our names, www.instawork.com. And again, just feel free to reach out to Erik with any of your questions or upcoming needs. Thank you so much, and hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time. Thanks again.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.